Hello everybody, welcome back to Candace Boxing Channel. Today is Tuesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. And I was going to do something that was sort of humorous, tongue-in-cheek, very April Fool's-ish. But then I realized the boxing scene is actually kind of bizarre at the moment anyhow. So I thought, I better not. You know, we've got a world now where Derek Chisora is being touted for a world championship fight against Daniel Dubois, where we've got people pulling out of fights at the last minute for reasons which are then never seemingly explained. And we've got all sorts of bizarre things going on. We've got Jake Paul calling out Anthony Joshua, and it's gotten some legs. So I thought, you know, anything I say, people might take me seriously, and that could always lead to then some sort of fracas in the comments section. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to play this one straight. There's a fight taking place this coming Saturday, which I'm interested in. It's fallen sort of a little bit below the radar, to be honest with you, because it conflicts with a big card in the UK at the Co-op Arena, same day. And that's that heavy impact card of Frank Warren's. But the fight that I'm talking about is taking place at the Palms Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's between Guido Vianello and Richard Torrez Jr. Now, let's start with Richard Torrez. Torrez, I would say, is the next big hope, if you like, for American boxing, at the heavyweight division, of course. At one time, we would have said that Jared Anderson fits that bill. And he might still be the next big American thing. But Jared Anderson is sort of gone off the boil a little bit. He came unglued against Martin Bakole, and then in his last outing, he wasn't overly impressive either. So I think some American fans in particular, and possibly worldwide, are looking at Jared Anderson and saying, you know, maybe he's not what we were sort of hoping he would be. He's still got time, of course. He's still got time. And he put up a very good showing against Bakole. He fought the wrong fight, etc. But he showed heart. And then in his last outing, I was hoping for big things, and big things didn't materialize. But anyhow, he's still got time. And like I say, he might well be the next big American. But for today, I think people are sort of focusing very much on Torrez. Torrez, of course, won a silver medal at the Olympics in 2020, which are held in Tokyo. And he lost in the final to Jalilov, which is, of course, no shame, right? You're losing to a top fellow. Let's have a little look at the tail of the tape when it comes to Richard Torrez Jr. He's definitely the betting favorite. In my jurisdiction, the decimal odds for him are 1.43. So you put your dollar on, you get your dollar back plus 43 cents. He's 25 years of age. He's 6'2". So, you know, we're seeing that sort of going back possibly to a more traditional heavyweight with respect to him. His last three fights, he was 236 in his last outing. Before that, he was 232. Before that, he was 230. So he's absolutely not a small man, though compared to some of the giants we've seen in the last 10 years, he's almost a waif and a stray, isn't he? He's a southpaw, which is interesting. As we know, the world heavyweight champion, with respect to Dubois, but the real world heavyweight champion is Alexander Usyk, who's also a southpaw. In 2024, he beat Isaac Gutierrez. He won a DQ against Joey Dorjeko. Is that how you pronounce his name? And prior to that, he fought Brandon Moore. None of these fighters I'm familiar with, so they're all relatively low-level opposition. His record is 12-0-0. So he's got a very good record, of course, but it's early doors, as the Brits would say. it's a little bit premature to get too excited about that record, especially when one considers the level of opposition. However, he does have 11 KOs. So he's definitely got a punch, but at least against the opposition he's faced thus far. California boy, born and raised, and lives there as well. So he will be the hometown favorite in Vegas. Not quite hometown, but, good enough, right? Now let's have a look at Guido Vianello. Guido also doesn't have a lot of fights under his belt. He's got 13 wins, 11 by way of, 2 losses, one of which was a KO, and he's got 1 draw. He is 6'6", so he's, in that land of the giants kind of thing again. He's an orthodox fighter, 79-inch reach, born in Italy, and he actually lives in Vegas. So he might be the hometown favorite. But last 3 fights, he weighed in at 245, 244, 242. So he's very consistent in his weights, creeping up ever so slightly, but at that weight, a pound or 2 is neither here nor there, right? What I like about Guido is that his last win was against the Russian-Canadian Makhmudov, who, as I've said before, if he gives up boxing, has a career in Hollywood as a Bond villain for sure. And at one time was thought to be somebody to really keep your eyes open for. But he was comprehensively beaten by Caballel, and he's sort of gone off the boil a little bit. Caballel TKO'd him, as did Guido Vianello. So Makhmudov might not be the fellow that we thought. Still, good opposition. Better opposition in my book than anything Richard Torrez Jr. has faced. Now, going back to Vianello's record, prior to beating Makhmudov, he lost a split decision against Efe Ajagba. Now, Ajagba is very much a quality opponent. Ajagba, of course, is fighting Bakoli in the not-too-distant future. And, excuse me, prior to that, he had a TKO stoppage over Moses Johnson. So, definitely, I would say, and I think most people would agree, that the standard of opposition that Guido has faced is superior to the standard of opposition that Richard Torrez Jr. has faced. He's also a 2016 Olympian, and he's 30 years of age. So he's definitely the older man. He's older by 5 years. Though it appears that he's, sort of a little bit late to the party, as you might say. Certainly a big lad. 6'6", 245 versus 6'2", 230 something. It's going to be the bigger man on the night for sure. Betting odds 2.70 here, and I think he might be in with a chance. Now, I would imagine that most Americans would be supporting Torrez Jr. Most people do think that Torrez Jr. is the favorite. But based on opposition, I'm not sure. I will say this. If Torrez Jr. gets through Guido, then I think we might be able to put a seal of approval on Torrez Jr. and say, yes, maybe he is the real deal at the level that he's supposed to be at. And we might be able to say, he could have legs, right? He could be, future top contender. It's quite possible. It's quite possible at this early stage to say either of these fellows could be belt contenders or possibly even champions one day. Time is definitely on Torrez's side. Torrez is definitely the new generation, right? When the old war horses eventually are taken out to pasture, we're going to be looking at the heavyweight division, and we're going to be seeing people like Moses Atoma. Dubois will still be around. He's still in his 20s. Torrez, the aforementioned Jared Anderson. In fact, Guido at 30 isn't long in the tooth, but so he might be on that sort of border. So it'll be interesting. I look upon this as a really, really worthwhile fight to sort of watch, because it might tell us about where the next lot are going to go. I should have added Fabio Wardley's name into that mix as well. Fabio's still a young fellow, and I, as you know, I very much like Fabio. So I'll be watching that. I think I might put a couple of bucks on Guido. Like I say, he's an underdog, and I often have a soft spot for underdogs. But it's based on quality of opposition. I mean, Makhmudov may not be the quality that we once thought he was, but a Jagbar is decent, absolutely decent. So I'm going to put a few bucks on Guido, and certainly I find this to be an interesting fight. This fight, to me, is actually more interesting than Joe Joyce and Ergovic, which I'll also, of course, be watching. I mean, of course I will. But I'll be watching this as it's a bellwether for the future, whereas Ergovic and Joyce, I mean, Ergovic isn't old, he's only 32, right? But for both those guys, they are that sort of prior generation. Certainly Joe Joyce is. Whereas this might tell us where things might well look, 5 years down the road, right? So maybe 3 years down the road. I mean, we're going to see Usyk leaving the stage. Joshua is going to be leaving the stage. Fury has theoretically left the stage. Wilder is talking about coming back, but Wilder's really done, isn't he? I think it'll be, the Joe Parkers and the Dubois and the Cabayels will be at the top table for a little while. But these younger lads, they could be the ones that hold our attention for the next few years. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please like if you like. Please share. But most importantly, please subscribe. I'm trying to get that subscription number up to the magic 1,000. That'll be great. I'm not exactly sure what will happen then, but that's a target, right? So, it's good to have a target. Anyways, most importantly, have a fabulous day wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.